After completing 9 months of the officer cadet course, I finally just commissioned as an officer. And throughout my course, there was one thing that I would always bring along with me. It was a notebook. And something in particular that I loved to write down and record down was leadership. I wrote down not just one, not just two, 6 different notebooks, actually 7. OCS course, this is really a course on training you to become competent leader. It's very rare for you to go through a leadership course of 9 months that teaches you and hones your leadership skill for the sole purpose of you becoming a leader. This was something that I really wanted to grow and nurture myself throughout my NS journey. And I would love to share with you guys everything that I've learned about leadership. And that doesn't mean that I've become a very qualified leader, I'm becoming an outstanding leader. That is far from the truth. Everything that I say in this video are things that I've learned and things that I want to hone throughout my NS journey. Before we drink our water, we will say our officer's creed. And one of the key things that is said inside is lead by example. And leading by example means that you need to be competent in what you do. Say things that are of substance. So when you give goals for those under your charge, right, you need to measure up or even exceed the expectations that you have set for them. For example, I want everyone here in my platoon to get IPPT goal, but you yourself, right, don't have IPPT goal, right, and you cannot meet your own expectations set by your men, you will lose respect. And I remember I went to the toilet one time and I saw this quote sticker that was placed in front of on the wall, and it said, "Don't subject your men to risks that you're not willing to take yourself." And I think this greatly draws with lead by example, is to really be on the forefront with your men, to take on the same risk, hardship that they are going through. And that is to me the definition of leading by example, and something that I want to hone. While I was passing by this wall, there was this quote by Sanji. He said, "Treat your men as your own beloved sons, and they will follow you into the deepest valley." People under you are not just numbers on a data or Excel spreadsheet. They are people who are someone's brother, lover, family member, or even a partner. And you need to take responsibility for them. You also need to provide with them an emotional aspect. Talk less, listen more. Understand where they're coming from. And by listening more, right, you're able to find out what exactly is the problem that they are facing and cater the correct help that they need. And something very important that every leader needs to have is discipline. Every other week, our instructor in service term would run through a lesson on leadership. And one of the lessons that he was talking about was on discipline. He showed us this video by Admiral McRaven, and I'm going to show you this clip.
Every morning, we were required to make our bed to perfection. But the wisdom of this simple act has been proven to me many times over. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task. At the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right.
Someone who has self-discipline has more control in their life because they'll be able to take away the temptations, distractions, and they'll be able to focus on things that are of priority and that are of importance to them. As I take on my role as a platoon commander, a PC, right, I find myself to be a bit busy sometimes, but sometimes my commanders will say, "Hey, you wanna go just chill, go play basketball?" I'm scared I miss out, so I'll just say, "Okay lah, sure." Then I realized that saying no, right, also takes discipline, because if you keep saying yes to things that you don't really want to do, right, you have lesser time to do things that are of priority. Another thing that Army emphasized in 8 core values also is fighting spirit. It's having the resilience to push yourself even when the odds are against you. Being in OCS or in command school, I believe, or even in Army, right, it puts you in a position where you're just uncomfortable. And one of the greatest takeaway that comforted me, right, in these uncomfortable situations was this line: "I have to learn to get comfortable with being uncomfortable." I knew that the more I exposed, the more I dealt with uncomfortable situations, the more comfortable I'll become with it. I remember my commander used to say this after a road march. He'd say, "Don't show your shag face." And the rationale behind this is very simple. If you show a very shag face, if you show that, wow, you're breathless, you're tired, and the man is showing the same expression as you are, right, the first thing that comes to the mind is, my commander is as shag as me, and they'll look down on you. Men might not have the motivation to push on if you yourself are as shag as them. And another thing is, don't complain. during our commissioning parade, we had about 2 to 3 weeks of practice drills. And there was one time we were late for 10 minutes, right? Parade Sergeant Major said, "You owe me 10 minutes of drills." A lot of us were just complaining, like, whatever people throw at you, right, you don't want to do, right, don't complain and don't whine about it. Okay, 10 minutes much, okay, no problem, I'll do it 10 minutes much. I'll do it even better. I can do it, if you give me 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I'll even do it for you. I'll do it even better than what you expect me to do. Because the moment you complain or you lower yourself down, right, you bring not only yourself lower, but the morals of those around you even lower. So I'd rather you spend the time to carry out the particular task than to actually complain and whine about the situation that you're in. Next, it's about having that optimistic mindset. It's very easy, right, for you to have a positive attitude when things are going well. But when the opposite happens, can you keep your optimism? For example, when you get really poor grades, you fail your IPPT, you have to retake this particular conduct while everyone passes. Your instructors are criticizing you for the mistakes that you make. Can you still see the positivity in all these things? Command school, such as OCS, has trained me to do is to really find the positive things in every single thing you do so that you can push yourself a step at a time. My recommendation to you is to really think positivity in your thoughts, in your words, and in your actions. Sometimes, right, our mind, right, just subconsciously say words that affect our actions. For example, after an outfield, after a road march, shag, rabak sia, wah, sian sia. But we don't think much about how these words affect us. We affect our mentality because we'll be like more lethargic in the things that we do, and we will have sloppier actions. Thoughts, words, and actions all link together. And if you can't think positively, it's perfectly normal for you to think of things that are negative at times. Because staying positive is something that you have to pursue actively. Be mindful when these negative thoughts pop up and try practicing to see things from a positive perspective. I would say one of my greatest, right, takeaway from OCS, right, was actually this learning process that I witnessed in my Protem days, and it was called the BADA-PA and the ORR. BADA-PA is before action review, and DA is the during action review, and PA is post action review. And every single stage of this, right, we will do this thing called ORR: observation, reflection, recommendation. If we do not go back and look at the failures or success, right, we'll never be able to improve or come up with solutions that are even better for us. So for example, right, there was a time where I was struggling with my IPPT. I did an ORR for this. Observation: I struggled with my IPPT. I didn't do very well for my push-up stations. I didn't do well for my sit-up stations, and my running timing during the 3rd or 4th round, I started to slow down. Reflection: why did this happen? I think the reason why this happened is because for the push-up stations, the reason why I had no counts was because I didn't straighten my back. I've used a machine that was not the best machine. For my 2.4 km run too fast at the start, which resulted me to lose my pace and my momentum. This is a very, very thorough reflection. And then for recommendation is, for my push-ups and my static stations, I need to find machines that are more effective in counting reps. I need to work on my form last parade to go and really train on my push-up and my sit-ups to build my stamina. I have a strategy when I run my 2.4 km run, maybe to run a bit slower pace. Then after the subsequent rounds, after I found my pace, to run a bit faster. Then the last round I sprint. And this is something that not a lot of people are willing to go back, to really observe and be honest with their mistakes. And really to admit to yourself, yes, I made this mistake, to reflect properly what went wrong and really come out with recommendations to prevent you from making such mistakes again. The worst thing is we keep making mistakes over and over again without actually learning from them. A great leader is someone that can be able to communicate. And the reason why communication is so important, right, is because if you don't communicate to your men, how do you get them to do what you want correctly? If you don't voice out your opinions to your commanders or your bosses, how do they give you what you need, right? Effective communication first comes from listening. During my time in School of Armor, I had the privilege to listen to many inspiring speakers of high-ranking positions. And I asked one of the speakers, I said, who do you look up to as a leader, and what were some traits that you admire about them? He said he had one superior, right, who in the past spent bulk of his time really just keeping quiet, really just listening and taking in all the considerations and opinions of others. And the moment he talked and opened his mouth, you knew that there were a lot of clarity in his intent, and there was no ambiguity in his points. It was straight to the bull's eye. So that itself, right, to me, was something that a leader needs to have: good communication skills. And another thing that really kind of blew my mind was that There was this one leadership lesson that our instructor was having, and he told us, he said, how many people do you think I'm speaking to in this room? And all of us just looked around like 30 people. There are 30 people in this room. But then he said, no, you're actually speaking to about 900 or close to 1,000 people. We're all rather confused. His rationale for saying this was because it's very simple. Each of us, after commissioning, will go on to lead 30 to 40 men in the future. And whatever that he taught us will then be passed down to more people to come. And that is the power of leadership. You have the power to influence generations. And it's something very common among the speakers. They would say is just like our forefathers, like Lee Kuan Yew, right? He was able to have the foresight, to really build Singapore to where it is today. It's because of his foresight. It's because of the leaders that he nurtured under him back then that we had this ripple effect of amazing leaders or commanders even in the army. If you set a bad experience, a bad example for someone, it will go on to affect people around him. Having systems in place. When systems are being put in place, there are very, very clear steps that needs to be taken in order to accomplish a specific task. Standards are being met when there are systems. If there were no proper systems, everything would be a mess. And I realize in OCS or in the army in general, or even in the corporate world, right, everything has systems. And when you take on leadership roles in the future, it's good for you to also implement systems. One of the last point I want to talk about is, as a leader, is really taking accountability and responsibility. And this was something that was drilled in us when we were cadets. People like a section commander, right, almost mimicking the real unit life, right? You have a platoon sergeant, you have a company platoon sergeant, and you also have a company platoon commander. So there were a lot of hierarchy, rankings, right, even in a officer cadet course. Whenever someone in a section, let's say just one guy, right, messes up, the SecCom will be punished, the platoon sergeant will be punished, the company platoon commander will be punished. And the punishment will just keep rolling up and up and up and up. And this is really to emphasize responsibility, that you are responsible for the men under you. I think a great leader, right, is someone that can admit to it that, yeah, this guy made this mistake and he's under my charge. I'm equally responsible for this. I should be punished. OCS really trains you to become someone that takes accountability for the mistakes that you make. And I think that is also a mark of being a great leader. In conclusion, there are certainly many takeaways that I had across 9 months, and I don't think I can squeeze every single thing in just one video. There are a lot of things that will be thrown to us in life that we don't want to do, right? Things we won't like to do. If you don't try to see things positively, or you take the easy way out, right, when you go into real working world, there will be a lot of things that you don't like to do that will also be thrown at you. If you can start to inculcate a mindset where on whatever shit that's thrown at you, to really excel in things that you don't particularly enjoy, right? I would say that you would have grown so much more as a person. So we had this meditation lesson, right, in OCS during my service term days. The instructor guiding this lesson told us this: it doesn't really matter, right, if you're an officer or if you're a general or if you're a trooper. At the end of the day, right, you want to leave army knowing that you have become a better son, a better friend, a better partner, a better brother, a better person. Army really took away a lot of time. So start treasuring those around you and don't take them for granted. And it doesn't mean that you have to be an officer to learn about this. In fact, I think that you can also learn about this even in your journey in NS. And I think I would urge all of you strongly watching this video to stop watching this video. Tell your loved ones that you want to spend time with them over the weekend. So with that, I've come to the end of my video. I hope that you guys have learned a lot about this video, not just about leadership things that I've learned throughout my journey in OCS, but also things that I believe that will be helpful to you even when you ORD or in the real working world. So thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again next time. Bye.